All right, thanks, Mike. So much more still ahead on this Saturday SportsCenter. Up next, Usain Bolt hits the block for the final time. How's he feeling about his final race before calling it a career? Plus, the Dolphins quarterback sweepstakes. Who's the front runner? Is it Jay Cutler? Colin Kaepernick? Neither. Our NFL insider will weigh in. And Yasiel Puig's newfound love of baseball. How an attitude adjustment seems to have led to a bit of a power surge. That's coming up. A's outfielder Matt Joyce could soon face the judgment of Commissioner Rob Manfred after the A's outfielder allegedly shouted an anti-gay slur during a confrontation with a fan in last night's game with the Angels. An Associated Press photographer says that as Joyce returned to the dugout following an at-bat in the 8th inning, Joyce uttered several profanities at the fan and allegedly called him an anti-gay slur and then challenged him to a fight. Oh, there's still so much more good storytelling to tell. Coming up on tomorrow's SportsCenter Featured, we've got a smaller version of the biggest game in Texas. Six-man football is played at more than 250 high schools. A full season exploring the game, the towns, and the people. Here's a preview from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. And while some have proven more fruitful than others, at the very least, the Belichick name deeply rooted in New England, as the apple, in this case, doesn't fall far from the tree. Mike Reese explains.
Coming up on SportsCenter Featured, a high school season on the verge of disappearing in a small Texas town, saved by a player from the unlikeliest of places.
Joseph has made very clear he wants to use the preseason games to ultimately decide the starting spot. But given the fact that he put such a premium on consistency at this position, it certainly seems like this is, at this point, Simeon's job to lose.
And this is something that we were at this exact same place at this time last year, right? Trying to figure out who was going to be under center with that defense, ball security, right?
Exactly.
Just manage the game. We'll have a first opportunity to see the Broncos in preseason action Thursday when they play in Chicago. Let's just be honest, though. Outside of Denver, there's probably not a lot of people excited to see Paxton Lynch taking on Trevor Siemian. So let's go full scope here. Which veterans are you most excited to see when we kick off these preseason games?
Well, it's funny, but coming up, whether Osweiler, Deshaun Kaiser, who's going to start that first game. So it should be interesting to see these battles flush themselves out. The other one to watch, Adrian Peterson. He never got reps when he was in Minnesota.
I've seen it. It's a three-tissuer.
Yeah?
And it's Rinaldi.
Perfect.
Our 25 days of college football kickoff continues this hour, including Trevor Madich's top 5 college football playoff busters, and they're going to surprise you.
I think there's no surprise what the top play of the week was. It's a clear-cut Austin Jackson catch, right? It was fantastic. But what about the other 9? We will find out. Top plays are forthcoming.
Which we've been known to debate. But in case you missed it, you were doing
Exactly.
At this point.
Sticking with the home run theme, on this date back in 2007, Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's all-time home run record, 756 career home runs.
And I think that you'd agree, right? One of the more memorable moments from that night was Bonds emphatically telling reporters, this is not tainted at all, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a look back at Bond's pursuit of history. It's on top back in the day.
Right. How did growing up in Dublin shape a guy like Conor McGregor?
Well, I mean, there's the tourist part.
With that drug life, that life of drug dealing, rather, that seemed to be so prevalent amongst his peers.
Well, I mean, there are two things that happened while he was.
Or fighters, we always hear about the relationship between the fighter and the coach, right? Specifically with Conor McGregor and his coach, John Kavanagh. How has his coach impacted his life?
I mean, of this.
I do want to talk to you about, there's so many great lines, so we had to kind of narrow them down in this piece. But there's one line in particular that stood out to us. And you wrote, even as someone like McGregor is rising, his fall feels close enough to touch. Why do you believe that to be true, right?
Because almost every single famous fighter you've ever heard of.
As an opponent, as you also mentioned in your piece, Floyd Mayweather having an issue paying his taxes, right? And his name is Money Mayweather. Listen, there's so many fantastic just moments from this. I have to say one of my favorite, right, from the piece was what happened when the mural was painted at his gym. You can go right now on ESPN.com and see for yourself what that moment was. Right, Thompson, thank you for doing what you always do and bringing us a really compelling story.
Thank you for your time.
And that everything from Georgia is just a little bit better. Said the person from Georgia.
You know who's better? The Dodgers.
Yeah.
They're better than everybody, no matter what you have on the field. And they continue their domination on Sunday Night Baseball, taking on the Mets.
I'm super grown. You're not going to give me a snack. I want like $500 or something, right? $600.
For the 500th hit?
Yeah, exactly. $1 per hit. How significant is this to you, Nick?
Yeah. Jay,
How about you?
where you going?
$10 a hit.
$10.
$10 a hit.
$10 a hit?
Yeah, $10 a hit. 500 hit, 500.
Okay, that's a lot.
Well, you know, I'm trying to make some money.
Clearly.
I'm trying to send the boy to college. I'm trying to make some money.
Kevin, what about you? What would it take?
If I'm that kid, chicken tenders, man. I want to eat food right now, man. Money ain't going to come to my bank account. I want to eat.
I'm trying to get
Practices starting around the NFL training camps today, including one in Foxborough featuring the Patriots as well as the Jaguars. We had live pictures coming in earlier this hour, Blake Bortles and Leonard Fournette, as well as Tom Brady. Let's go out there right now. Mike Reese is standing by with a...
I know Steph Curry is certainly not the first pro athlete to dip his toe in a sport that he isn't getting paid for, or even more specifically for that sport to be golf. Remember Tony Romo? He almost qualified for the U.S. Open, but he certainly drew the attention and the ire of some in his golf debut last week. And while missing the Web.com cut, he gave no leverage to the haters with a surprisingly competent performance. Sage Steele sat down with the two-time MVP to discuss that and his budding...
All right, Mike, thank you much. As we get ready to get out of here, we got some sad news to end this Sports Center. MLB legend Don Baylor has died at the age of 68. As a player, Baylor won the AL MVP in 1979 and the World Series in 1987. He was also the first manager of the Rockies, leading them to the playoffs in 1995. Again, Don Baylor has died at the age of 68.
When I hear Don Baylor, I just think of power. Power in the lineup.
Yes.
Right?
Very lots and lots and lots.
Yeah.
Certainly a sad day for the MLB community.
Yes, absolutely.
We are going to get out of here in just a minute and toss over to Stephen A. and Max with First Take, but just a couple of, to wrap up what we did over the last 3 hours, go to ESPN.com right now and check out Wright Thompson's piece on Conor McGregor. Self-professed guys, not a huge fan of Conor or his race baiting or really anything that he says, but it's a really cool look at where he came from, and his coach himself confessing, I still don't really know this man very well, and where some of his issues stem from. Make sure to check that out.
It's revealing.
It is.
It is.
Show with How Old is Too Old. It is a staple. Elle, how old is too old to buy a suit that doesn't fit and use bobby pins before the show to get it?
Yeah, it's a safety pin. He safety pinned the suit.
It didn't fit. I took it to the tailor. He didn't do his job. It's like, hey, my first suit. Look at me.
You got it at Gap Kids.